Before the 1920s, women were still only beginning to break the gender barrier in sports, specifically baseball. Women's sports were still not in the Olympics, and there were only a minuscule amount of women's baseball teams. Once the 1920s hit, women's baseball programs were becoming well established. Women were making leaps in the sports world, leaps that would lay the foundation for the future of women's sports. Here we have with us Lizzie Murphy, a first baseman with impressive fielding skills. Lizzie, tell me about your and your fellow women athletes' breakthrough into sports.
Well, it's amazing how we're changing sports for American women. My teammates and I are being given more and more opportunities to travel and play. I was even able to play for National and American League All-Star teams with and against all men. I think us women are paving the way for the future of sports.
Now we have Betty Schenkel here with us. So, Betty, the rumor going around is that you hit home runs like Babe Ruth.
Well, yeah, that's what rumor says.
What do you think this will show young girls who want to play sports?
Well, I think this will really show young, aspiring female athletes that our gender really doesn't matter. Just because we're women doesn't mean we can't compete with the men. And I think this will also show sports has nothing to do with our wealth or our gender or our social class. Because if you're talented, then you're just talented.
Lizzie and Betty's comments certainly match up with the beliefs of John Stuart Mill and his wife. In an essay inspired by his wife, Mill states, "The legal subordination of one sex to another is wrong in itself, and now one of the chief hindrances to human improvement, and that it ought to be replaced by a system of perfect equality, admitting no power and privilege on the one side, nor disability on the other." Both Lizzie and Betty would most likely agree with Mill and his wife that women deserve the same rights as men. Equality is what Mill and his wife were all about. They would certainly be proud of the strides these two women are making in a sport that currently lacks equality. What Mill was doing, without even knowing it, was starting first-wave feminism, in which women's rights is of utmost importance. Lizzie, what do you hope will happen for the future of women in sports?
My hope is that women will continue to find equality in not only sports, but in the workplace, in politics, and in society overall.
Betty, do you believe the path for women in sports will continue to grow?
Well, we're women in the 1920s and we've already been proving that we belong in sports. So what happens in the future is something amazing that I wish I could be around to see. We've already had Lizzie get a hit off of Satchel Paige. The possibilities are truly endless.
Aside from the theories, beliefs, and statements of John Stuart Mill, Thorstein Veblen's theories also relate well to the phenomenon of women in sports in the 1920s. Veblen often questioned what types of things showed wealth. Sports, among other things such as religion, dress, marriage, and higher education, is one of the factors he believed affected a person's view of wealth. Lizzie Murphy was a skater, a runner, and a swimmer, but most prominently, she was the first woman to play Major League Baseball. She played on small teams until the big leagues, fought to receive pay once she got there, and eventually began to play for bigger teams. She went on to play in the majors, put up some great stats, got chosen for the All-Star teams, and even got a hit off of excellent pitcher Satchel Paige. Excelling at track events, tennis, basketball, baseball, billiards, swimming, canoeing, field hockey, soccer, boxing, wrestling, bicycle racing, roller skating, horseback riding, rifle shooting, and volleyball. Like Lizzie, baseball was Betty Schenkel's strong suit. Betty Schenkel left her mark in the baseball world. She, like Lizzie, played among the men, put up excellent stats, and even became known as the woman who hits home runs like Babe Ruth. Lizzie and Betty are exemplary figures of theories presented by Mill and Veblen. Mill and his wife preached legal equality for women. Lizzie's and Betty's actions in baseball were certainly strides towards that gracious equality. These two women, among many others of their kind, did well to assist in Mill and Veblen's theories. They proved wealth does not have to be based upon sports, and sports do not have to be based upon gender. They also proved women's equality was needed, although seen as radical. Most importantly, they started the view that women are not insubordinate to men and guided Mill's first-wave feminism, pushing women's rights in a positive direction for the future.